So is it time for the new age to come of age? Let's talk about it. Okay, we're back and we are joined by Gio and my co-host Gio and our special guest Kathy of iRise Forum. So let me bring them on the screen and we can begin the discussion. Oh, 1 second, everybody. Here. There you are. You're on screen. Hello, Gio.
Hey, good to see everyone. Hello, Kathy.
Hi there. Hi, Rod.
Hello. So anyway, I'm going to get myself back on screen. So Kathy is a forum owner of iRise Forum, and she's one of the crew. And we're going to just kind of delve into where we're all kind of going collectively as these forum communities, and how do we start actualizing in the real world instead of the cyber or virtual world. So, anybody want to get this conversation going here?
You give it to Gio.
Give it to me. Yes. One reason why I wanted to engage with Kathy, I want to give her a little introduction, especially from my perspective of knowing her over the years. She's been a long time member of Project Avalon, but she obviously has been doing her own endeavor over the iRise Forum, which we'll get into. But is to give her some credit, if not praise, because I've admired her from afar because of the many years of contributions she gave it. PA under the avatar of K-Light. And I know many people are probably familiar with her posting because, if there was anything that was happening in the world, especially in the last, let's say from 2010 up to at least 2015, and of course on her own forum, she's covered it. She has a magnificent eye, and being one that can see things happening in the world and pull from it, as I've been able to, and have a little bit of a talent of it. She has a great talent and ability because she actually absorbed a lot of material, and she's on it for hours and hours and hours a day, and it's become, I guess, part of herself, really. But I'm very appreciative, and when the opportunity came to be introduced to her, face to face through Rad and others, I jumped at it, and there's many others that are going to come forth in the future. I know it's going to happen, so we can say that. But I want to talk about her platform, the iRise, and how it's going to be, or I would like it to be, become a sister platform in many ways to what is happening over at the TOT forum, the One True forum, because of her ability to categorize as well as archive happening material, and for it to be available for those who don't have the time to do the surfing, like a lot of us don't, especially those that are members that are and ones in the community that are working. So we'll talk about that. But again, welcome, Kathy, and I really am so appreciative that you've decided to come on camera and share yourself, and my thumbs up.
I'm just gonna say that Kathy, although Kerry Cassidy is kind of like the heavyweight within our community for interviewing people, Kathy, if I recall, you have interviewed or at least been on camera with Miles Johnson. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's true.
And what was that like for you?
Oh, it was interesting. I would just open the camera up and let him speak. And he would just speak. So it was like he was self-regulating.
I
And
agree.
did you do it? So it was easy.
Yeah, we had him back when I used to do the goldfish report. We had him as a guest, and
Oh,
you once you get him started, you don't need to. He needs no further prompting.
yeah. None.
It's
None.
very entertaining. And very, very knowledgeable and very entertaining of what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, Kathy, you're to me, you represent eyes and ears on the ground over in the UK, if not Britain, in general. And that's one reason why I wanted to bring you into the fold, because there's so much happening there, not just in the United States or anywhere else. I mean, that you can bring to the conversations that we have, and just the things that in the last several days that we've spoke about have just opened my mind to things that I'd closed off over the years. We get very tunnel vision, at least I do, with what I'm doing. So I'm very appreciative of that. I'd like you just to talk, if you would, if Rad's in accord, about your form, just to give a descriptive and how to. It's very what do you say, congenial, if not companion-like to Tot, and all the forms that we're interacting on. They have the same bulletin. What do you call it? Creator. So I mean, it's very friendly to those that are on these forums anyway, in finding things. But maybe unless Brad has unless Rad has a comment he wants to interject with
I'm
this,
good.
could you talk about it a little bit, and what you do there and how to get to it?
Oh, well, I'll tell you how to get to it. You just type in www.irise.com /forum. And what it is, I hope it's becoming, is more like a library of information, categorized information, that those who want to wake up, or hopefully if they stumble upon it and click on anything, it would help them to wake up. That's the idea of it.
Yeah.
Well, she said slash. Actually, it's I-rise.
Oh, I forgot to say the hyphen.
And Rad will put this in the show notes so people can get a link to it.
Okay.
That would be the most logical thing for us to do, since we're.
Yeah. Oh, that's my first.
The good thing I found about it is this: that it's not cluttered with a lot of conversation, so to speak,
No,
or texting. Now, some people will say, "Well, is that a forum?" But in a way, we hear other platforms talking about libraries and being a depository of information. But to find these things in these other forms, you really got to know what you're searching for.
yeah.
And the convenience I found of your platform is that I can go to a column, whether it be in spirituality or let me get another of health issues.
Yeah.
And pretty much what's there is there. I don't have to go looking. I can scroll down and see what you've contributed or posted there, and go by and usually your titles are very direct, and find something without having to go through all this search stuff.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's more history to the forum because it's been operating for a few years. But the significance that I'm finding is what you have been doing in the last couple years. So that to me is the most important thing to point out here.
Okay.
But like I said, you are basically the number one contributor. There's a lot of familiar names on your forum.
Yes.
Rad, his and his Modwise videos, as well as these Cosmic Forums videos. But there's other things there, and there's other members there from other communities that have contributed.
Yes.
Now, but the beauty is that I found that it's wide open. It's sort of like a canvas that's still being, what do you say, painted on or created. And so tell me what you would like others, that we would invite to come over to get from it, but also what you would offer them.
What I would like for our Rise, I would like to have loads of moderators who moderate their own stuff on there. People who are interested in developing their own projects, really.
Oh, wow.
But it had to be contributory, to education, really, I think.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, folks out there? Okay. Contributors, people that produce their own stuff.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that an idea?
Wow.
Well, if we want, everybody, we all know that TV is television, and so if we're gonna take it, if we're gonna really show our sovereignty, we need to be providing content for ourselves. In my opinion, it's like growing your own food.
Yeah, and just like what Rad's been doing with his video and Target and others, this would be a wonderful place for those who have ideas of making their own videos to have a place to showcase it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously you can do it on Tot, and some can do it at Avalon, but this would be, like a creating space to do this. And also for those that are a little, hesitant, if not maybe even scared to venture into this, it would be a wonderful place to start to experimenting. And as you said, there would be self-moderation. And I know we've talked about this in private about the idea of eventually, depending on the member, and of course you'd have to be a member to do this. Obviously, guests come to your forum all the time, lots of them, from what I've seen. But an individual member would be able to control what happens on that thread or outlet, and that's very inviting someone like me. Not because you have the ability, or I would have the ability to prevent someone from saying something or to mute them, or so to speak, from expressing themselves, but it gives the individual a little more creative control. And of course that comes with responsibility, doesn't it? That means something that many of us that have grown from this whole forum experience in the alternative community, that we accept willingly ourselves to do, amongst ourselves, to behave without being rude.
Freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. And to me, the one, everybody's, we're all fine. We're interested in this and this. And one of the things I see missing in so much of what we're following is how we get back to our sovereignty and freedom and back onto the planet that was given to us by a creator that created the planet just for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Freedom of speech, freedom to do.
And that's very important. There's no point out that you're the administrator. Rad is a moderator over there, but I mean that's a loose term in a sense. It's sort of like an honorary, because he is beyond moderation, so to speak. I mean, he could do it all if he wanted to, and we know that. But I think it's an honor to have someone like him, because I would he moderates me, so I have no problems with it. He mutes me and he does whatever. He tells me how it is, and I benevolently take whatever he has to offer. But
Yeah.
like I said, others, can do self-moderation in the same way.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to offer just a safe thing because, going onto YouTube can seem like, oh my God, am I ready for that? If you create a YouTube channel, you can do unlisted as a you rather than making it public, you can make it unlisted, and that means only people that you give the link to can see it. So therefore, you could come onto iRise, decide you want to make videos, put your videos on YouTube, put them unlisted, but put them on iRise, and only people from the forum or can really see. Now obviously they can share the link and it could get out into the wild, so to speak, but you can, again, this is where we have to honor each other. But you could, now what you can do is you can make a video and in the very safe space of people that present your work, and then have it lauded, critiqued, or whatever by a loving community, instead of throwing it out on YouTube where we all know that there occasionally can be hyenas.
Yes.
As well as throwing it out on, let's say, more populated forums where there's people there that obviously are new to that thing, and they're going to, act in the same accord as people do, in the YouTube community. That's why I say that, this platform offers individuals that want to post material of their own interest in following, and do it in a consistent way without interruption or what do you say, distraction. And especially now the new genre of YouTube, which is new to the forum community individually. I mean, obviously people have been on, we have all these YouTube stars out there, which that's fine. And everyone has a right to do that, I guess. That's what the platform's there for. But I see personally, in what I know that you guys agree, is what we're trying to move on to is opening the whole what do you say, window to the alternative community forum group to start expressing themselves personally about things without worrying about
being moderated by anyone other than yourself.
And also even the peer pressure to some degree, that goes with cliques and groups, and agendas. Again, that word agendas. So there's many that are on other forums that I know that enjoy their communities, and that's wonderful. That's what this is all about. But there comes a time when expansion needs to happen, or expression, and you're offering, and the platforms that we participate on are offering another level of expression for forum members. And it doesn't mean that you can't interact on all these forum platforms simultaneously. Exactly. which I think is a wonderful thing, because no one here is telling someone to quit this and join this and don't be with those and be with us. That has nothing to do with it. The whole thing is about unity. And Rad, you can add to this, because this is what the whole crutch of what we're trying to do is about, is unity.
Well, I feel, it's like we've been information gathering for close to a decade now, and maybe just a little shy of it. What conclusions have we come to from all of this information gathering? How much more information are we going to gather before we start forming some opinions, having some conversations, and then doing something with what, all this? We're truth seekers. Well, what is the fruit of truth?
Yeah. Well said. And that's really what it's about, or at least where many of us are at now, and where we feel that in order to progress, we need to go. I mean, I enjoy some of the stuff that's out there, the stuff with the drama that's happening in the community. I'm not going to give the names, but I enjoy that. I think everyone enjoys it to some extent, but I'm also at the point where I'm saturated with it. And how many more comments, how many more excerpts from conversations or Skype excerpts, can we post that, make a point. I think most of us that have seen all the evidence of anything that's happening within the community can make their own call and judgment, and don't need to be part of a group necessarily to get there. I think we need to maintain some sense of individuality to this, and be allowed to have our own opinions without worrying about the wrath of others coming on us because of our opinions. And also on the other side of individuals that want to saturate the conversation to the point where it gets meaningless. It becomes all about neuroses. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone, but I have a tendency to do that myself, especially when I talk amongst myself. But but this is what I see, and I want others to, and I have to say this, what is happening that a lot of, unbeknownst to a lot of people, is there is a whole new circle of people talking amongst themselves within our community, as well as others in the community talking with themselves. And these are groups, and they're having Skype conversations. Everyone's communicated for years with Skype, but what we're seeing now is more. And I don't want to. I want to coin a phrase, but I'm not going to use it right now. But these groups are very important, and I believe that these as things start opening up, we can start seeing these groups maybe present themselves in video, to be posted in videos, on forums to talk about things. And this is really how you open a conversation. It's not about trying to out text someone. I mean, there's some wonderful contributors. We've said this many, many times. Wonderful wordsmith. People love to do their research and pull and cut and paste and make these wonderful presentations.
Yeah.
But for me personally, and I know Rad and I know many others, you can only post so much. I mean, if I want to read magazines or books, I'll do it. And my suggestion to those, that want to do these kind of things, maybe you need to get into writing and publishing stuff. But something, the world's saturated with that, isn't it? Pretty much. So if you're not really of the talent to go mainstream, maybe the best thing to do is start taking those wonderful concepts and ideas that you've composed and putting them through your mind and out to others and sharing it in a conversation, because that's how we understand each other organically, really, by looking at each other, no matter how strange and weird we might appear, or how we have stigmas about how we might look to others. This is our authentic selves. And this is what needs to be done. So these conversations can be presented that way on a forum level, and people can just, they can listen to it when they want. They can stop. I mean, you don't have to listen to a video all the way through. It can be an ongoing series of talks where people can. It's much more easier and convenient. Doesn't mean we need to stop descriptives, posting other things that are in the news and what interest us. But this is an additive that needs to happen now, because otherwise it's just going to keep trumming along as we've been doing, and we're never, ever going to leave our little community, and the world is going to just pass us by.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you look at what big production has done with some of these talking heads, they're moving into mainstream. And as I said, that the mildly awake are awakening, and but they're going to be kept at a level that is conducive to the business that's being presented to them in the market. So we need to represent ourselves a little better. This is not about making money, obviously. There's no advertisement involved. If people want to put advertisements on their talks, that's something that has to be agreed to, and whatever, in their decision to be made. But it's not really about revenue generating, for corporative or for platforms.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're trying to create a new paradigm, if we're trying to break away from central banks, then what we have to be thinking somehow of communities, self-sufficient communities, and these are going to have to start with dialogues. Going to have to start with people who live there regionally. I mean, there's a lot of work to do. And I mean, the new age started with the harmonic convergence in 1987. That's 30 years ago, if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yeah.
So to me, it's no longer the new age. It's time to come of age. And that's about, and to me, the really come of age is where we now are starting sovereignty, freedom, responsibility, self-sufficiency, and how we start dialoguing to make that happen. And we're not going to do it. We can have the conversations online, but we're not going to get anything done in real world online, including breaking the central banks, and the whole concept of monetization. We need to move away from money per se, and especially the fact that you need money just to have a piece of land. I mean, the world was given to us for free. We have nothing but usurpers. We have middlemen who have decided with their arms that they can stand between us and the Creator, and that only happens because we haven't come together like they have come together. They're a little tiny band that came together, and look how much they control. If we come together, game over.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is that I'm speaking of creating these video conversations or not groups. A lot of this can also move to another area altogether, and that can be into the public way. I mean, we have public television outlets that videos, people can put these things on and have it broadcast regionally, if not in states here in the United States. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but this is another thing. We can bring other people in to the fold, not necessarily being members of our alternative community. We need to step beyond the community as well. We had to look at that. How can we bring people into some of our ideas that we've been trumming along for all these years? We need to refine it, if not, what do you say, at least get it grouped and polished a bit so people can understand where we're coming from and what we've been, working on for all these years. We need to transcend it over to the larger communities, especially where we live.
Let me throw this in. When I first moved to Woodstock in 1991, I had a local access cable show called Are You Listening?
Yeah.
And at that time, the internet hadn't come of age. But now, and they actually depend on local content creators to have any programming. I mean, without programming, they have empty slots. Now, with the internet age, you could actually do a local access in your community program and re-recording that and then upload that to YouTube. So you're hitting both local and where real people connect to you, but you can also reach a greater audience out there. And that was something that was not available to me when I was doing my local access cable show back in 1991.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. And I forgot the term local access, which is what I was thinking, obviously. But no, that's a wonderful way to unite it, because now we have YouTube. Now that we have locally that available, there are people in our communities that watch these things. I know I do, especially in particulars that's happening things in my own area. So that's a wonderful idea.
And you could possibly monetize. I mean, like I didn't think of it at the time, but I might have been able to go like to my local health food store and maybe a couple of restaurants and say, how about, you throw me $10 a show, $5 a show, whatever. And, and if people are reaching it and say, and if you use the place, please tell them that you heard about, the reason you're going there is because you heard about it on my show. And just, really start getting entrepreneurial.
Because there's many people, as you're saying, local shop owners and businesses that are on board with a lot of the things we discuss. Organic foods and it's just self-preservation of our human, dignity and lifestyle. So there's ways and means of doing this that can benefit everyone. So this is, where all this is leading to, at least in our vision. And I hope others feel the same way, because you did a wonderful video about the trolls and the zombies yesterday, and I encourage others to listen to it on your other I don't want to say channel, but your other outlet, the
Modwiz125 on YouTube.
Yeah. Check that one out. That was a good one. It was out yesterday on Saturday. But there's so much that we have to contend with people that are frustrated, and they end up becoming part of this problem of trolls and zombies, where they see no end to this, or no resolution or cure for any of the things that we're trying to solve or work out. So they end up becoming these type of beings. And everyone can be of that nature at times, frustrated and irritated and whatever. So I'm not going to say that those are just certain types of people. Anyone's capable of being that way, and we see it demonstrated in everything that's out on the internet, whether it be on their magazine articles, videos, and whatnot. But we need to really eliminate this troll and zombie phenomena, because people are becoming too complacent. It's sort of like entertainment. We were talking earlier off camera about the what do you want to say? Oh geez, I lost the chain of thought here. Excuse me for a minute. Go ahead, Rad. Speak. I have to think.
Well, Kathy, you got anything? Okay. You're on camera.
Yeah, no, I was following him, and in my mind I was visualizing a way of introducing your TV thing and hooking things up to that idea. That's what I was doing, and Jill was speaking about your video.
I had, it's funny, I was commenting about someone in the State Department yesterday had a brain fart. I just had one, and I I don't know where my thought just went, but it just went completely out. So it must have been a reason for it. But yeah, I'm getting old. But we had so many good things we were speaking of, which happens quite often off camera. But this is the point of having these conversations. I almost enjoy the private conversations more than what we're even presenting, because that is where my juices start flowing and the ideas of exchanging. So that's why I encourage other people to do this or try doing this. And I'm hoping that there are those that are already, I know there's others that are doing it, but I would encourage them to maybe, think about recording it and presenting it, because I'm finding that there's so many people that I've followed for so many years that, and I see it in the frustration of their posting, of the way they're reacting to things, that they need to move. They want to move on. They want to bring the game up a little bit. And as I've done in previous Cosmic Emporiums, I please think about this. There's people that we're speaking to that want to do this, and obviously they have their reasons. It takes time. It takes nurturing to, and if I can, sit here and brain fart with people, that should tell you that it's a very human thing. So those that are in doubt of doing this, don't be embarrassed, because this is part of being human. We can't be perfect with our posting. I mean,
Well, have you ever seen bloopers of newscasts and stuff? I mean, they fuck up all the time.
Exactly.
If anything, we're more professional.
But rightfully so, we're human. And I
And
sometimes
let us celebrate our humanity. I mean, it's not about we embrace sloppiness. We are all working to be better and better, but it's just we're not airbrushed, and we don't want an airbrushed reality.
right, and that brings a point I was thinking about that Kathy had brought up, and then was asking me about my past connections with the Anastasia books. And that's a good thing to get into the organicness of what we are and what this planet is. Kathy, Brad, do you want to speak about those books? At least what they represent, because when we were speaking about so many wonderful memories of because a person read them to me because of my my attention deficit. I had a good friend would read them to me on Skype, and I used to just like a little child just sit there and just my
Tell me a
hands like
story.
this. Tell me a story, and it just got me going. And then this is within the community I'm talking about. And this is not years ago or anything, but this is in the last a few years back, and it was just so wonderful.
Yeah.
But what Kathy, what they touched upon in the books about being human, our connection with nature, how you were talking about how to we were talking about the aesthetics of building architecture and stuff like that, but this was the architecture of the organic earth, how
Yeah.
to present it, the seeds and whatnot, how to create it around us. I don't know, someone grab in there, do you have an idea about it? Maybe we're all burned out from it. I found the interesting thing about the seeds. You remember you were telling me about the seeds?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for Kathy to jump in. I mean, I'm ready to jump in any time. I'm just trying to give space.
Oh, okay. Well, Kathy, she'll jump in. You give her an intro, and she'll jump in with it. I know. She's a
Kathy,
little. This is her
go
first
ahead.
time. She's shy. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
I'm shy. But yeah, about Anastasia. I mean, what I said first, I think, was I think it was about her idea of there being this one person who was running it all. I mean, the whole of everything that happens to us, the whole of it. And you will never see his name listed. And he lives like an ordinary person in an ordinary house. And he's running everything. He plans it all. Do you know? It's a him, you know that. We don't know any more about him. But that's what he does. So he's organized religions, war, finance, politics, education, the whole lot. Right. And then I think I brought in the idea of, the kinship, where we're each given, is it a hectare of land?
I do believe so. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Huh?
I think it was a hectare of land.
I think it was, yeah. And you grow a tree, you grow a pine tree, or what other kind of tree? An oak tree, maybe. But then you grow supporting trees that protect your area from wind, and you build your house, you cultivate a garden, and you wait for it all to develop, and you use everything that you've grown. You use that. And I think Russia was utilizing the crop growth was enough to support their economy.
Yeah.
Well, that the first, really, if you have a place to live, The real economy is feeding people.
That's it.
I mean, that's getting down to basics. It's because we need food and shelter and community, and money is not required to have those three things unless you have a usurping government that wants to charge you for the land that was given to you in the first place by the creator.
You
Right.
know, there they,
Yeah.
you know, think they can own land and sell it.
This is a perfect example of, and this goes to those out there listening, of how others can participate. I know that there's many that follow, that are on in our community that know so much about this stuff.
Yeah.
That could contribute to even our conversation if they were here right now. And through these conversations, they could even interject what we're going to speak about. So, I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't those of you out there that would like to contribute now and make us look bad, if not add to the flavor of what we're trying to discuss here? You could, give us your knowledge, if not your recall of this stuff, and add to it. And it wouldn't have to be through a typed, recourse. You could be doing it colorfully through your voice, through your mannerisms. This is really what we're trying to get to, of getting back to an organic way of communicating and speaking about recall things in our minds that we've read or have had told to us or read to us. This is what I'm really feeling the most about here, is that as much as I like doing these conversation shows, you're presenting information, I would like to see others come on and talk about these things with people, as Kathy and Rad and myself are, giving our 2 cents into it. And that to me is a wonderful palette, a way of, painting,
Let's take a new age thing like past lives and past life regression. So many people use it for vanity, where they want to know if they're Cleopatra or this, that. Again, that's vanity. Rather than recalling what was the life you lived before governments took over. Can you remember when we actually kind of had the earth and to use for ourselves? Nobody's really coming forward with that stuff. Oh, I remember being tortured. Oh, I remember my execution. It's all this fucking drama. And I'm sick of it personally.
That's a wonderful, wonderful point. I've read, past regression books and about stories, and there are stories about that time, especially from some individual sessions, but they don't really focus, at least the questioner, the psychiatrist or psychologist or regressionist, don't even ask those questions. It's always about like you're saying, the trauma, the experience of, and everyone pretty much is had the death experience, we know.
Well, a lot of people are using past life trauma for why they're a fucking mess now.
It's true.
Over and over and over again, and again, I just see endless use of something that could really open up how we used to be, and it's either for the vanity of maybe they were Cleopatra or queen of this, king of that, prince of this, and then of course the trauma thing. Now I know when I found, also now, so the other thing is, we all know about continuous time, different timelines, whatever. And what I did for my own concept, because I was having, I actually have quite a bit of recall when I want, and I realized, wait a second, all of these lives are currently living on their own timeline. So I just kind of constructed it where nobody's died yet. And we kind of cross feed each other across the timelines, and it just allows it to be dynamic instead of traumatic.
I remember reading a book about past lives that kind of enabled me, because I had been abused as a child, and there was a description, a story about where the Aztecs lived or something like that. I don't think I was ever born here before. I've got no idea. But I know I have memories of being somewhere else and having a vision of what I was to come to, this earth, which was so violent. And I just didn't want to come at all, but I was cajoled into it. So I don't think there was free will. I think I was instructed and I okayed it, that kind of thing. But the reading of that story calmed me down somewhat, because where I was in an area of blaming, I thought, oh, well, maybe it happened to me because maybe I was there, or I was in a situation like that where sacrifice, this human sacrifice stuff, you climb up the steps and you get killed, or you kill.
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, we can use past life memory. We can also use, in the Popol Vuh, they mention that they lived very peacefully under Quetzalcoatl. And then a certain priest class arose and started blaming the failure of the weather on the fact that there was an angry god. The angry god is a relatively new concept on the planet. I would say it's probably no more than 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
If you can actually remember more than 5,000 years ago, the world is completely different then. A very, very different world, and that's the world we want to try and remember, because the trauma that we are experiencing is in human history. If we want to take like 70,000 years, when we have the Lascaux cave paintings in France, just as a set of 70,000 years ago, basically for 65,000 years. We didn't have a problem. If you notice, you don't see any organized war on the cave paintings. Organized war is no more than 5,000 years old, because the metallurgy that we were taught was taught by the darker forces to parasitize the healthy cultures, and that's kind of, you'll see that in the New Earth series. At least that's what I have seen.
Right. Going back to Anastasia, if I may, just for a minute.
Please do.
Where she talks about, you put the seeds in your mouth.
Yes, that's it.
They take from you what you need. They take from you something genetic, I suppose, some information from you. You plant them, and those seeds will grow into stuff that only relate to you. But nevertheless, you can gather them and pass them around.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah,
I totally get it. I mean, in many ways, that's a little bit what's behind UT, or urine therapy, where by drinking a little bit of your morning pee, you're able to tell your body what's not happening, and it can do little adjustments from that information. So similarly, putting seeds into your mouth, the seeds will get a reading of your kind of basic nutrition, and then maybe put more iron into an apple, or things like that.
Yes. I'm glad you recalled that, Kathy. Yes, because that's what I was thinking. That's wonderful. I love that, and I love what you just said, Rad. Even though some people will probably tweak the idea, but that's a very true thing.
But apparently, it doesn't taste bad.
I can speak from. I did it for a couple of months, and without a whole lot of result. Apparently, I needed to do other things. It's so nothing. I mean, it's. I mean, first of all, it's like 4 ounces, whatever. Something. It is. It's so nothing. And besides, I've taken herbal remedies. Some of them are a little bit bitter. Like if you've done Chinese stuff, man, I'll take urine any day.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it is just a gag effect that it has on us. But that's created because of the way we live in our society. Yeah. But it's not that gross, and it's not that far fetched, obviously. And there's worse things that we could be doing, obviously, to ourselves.
Like drinking a Coke.
Definitely.
Touche. That's wonderful. Yeah. Yes. That's very true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is the way I like conversation to go, and this is pretty much what we, for those listening, is the way it usually is when we're speaking privately. I wish a lot of times I wish we could record some of this stuff, but it wouldn't be there. But the idea is to get people that know things, that want to relate things without having to sit down and type it out, and also getting the instant feedback from each other, the people that they're speaking to. This is what really organically we're speaking about and doing these type of conversations.
Vern has joined us.
Hello, Vern. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm just woken up.
Live from New Zealand.
Wow.
Tomorrow. He's coming from the future. What is it? Let's see. It's 2:30. Yeah, it's morning time there, isn't it? Tomorrow. Yeah.
Not 9:30.
Yeah. I know that, because of Carmen, and you live on the South Island as well. Yeah. Your sky looks like my sky today. It looks very similar. I got that overcast.
It's not pleasant.
It's not pleasant. You're in your fall now, so to speak, right?
Oh yeah. We're into winter now.
Is it? Oh, that's right. We're in the winter.
Winter is officially, well, it's about 2.5, 3 weeks away. The official winter.
Oh, it's cold.
That's why I said official.
Okay.
Well, it's funny. I know your temperatures, get down in the 30s and whatnot, or at least I don't know in Celsius. What would 30s be in Celsius? Does anyone know?
Well, 0 degrees is 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. So saying that, I used to tease my friend Carmen because she would be sitting there in and she had a fur jacket. She'd be sitting there talking to me in a fur jacket, freezing. They had fire, everything was fireplaces were on her farm, and it was cold there, obviously, and I can relate to that. But she had no idea. She had no idea, because I know, she just didn't get the temperatures that they get up here in the Northwest. But listen, when it's cold, it's cold, and you're outside anyway. So that goes without saying. So you're in it.
It's because he's having a cigarette.
Oh, okay. Well,
not yet, but soon.
Yeah. Well, it looks lovely there anyway. New Zealand's a beautiful place, especially the South Island. So I really envy in some way. My deal would be if I could be here, a certain time of the year and be down there. The other part would be idealistic to me.
This planet is beautiful. Oh, Mother, you are absolutely delicious.
I had my partner up in Auckland at the top of the North Island last weekend, and she was walking around in a shirt. It was lovely, So the South Island is sort of colder down south and warmer up north.
Yeah, you have a total. Even you're so close in proximity, the North Island has a different climate. Year round, for that matter, unless you got a major storm coming, in your way. But you have some beautiful rivers and geez, what a place.
A south wind where I live is usually warm. A south wind from them is a polar breeze.
Yeah.
We had a it was about 30 years ago, but I had a friend that took an American group of relations and friends around New Zealand, and there was a couple of them that was so annoying, he said, because everywhere they went, they said, "Oh, that's just like Colorado, that's just like Memphis," or all the different places. And in the end, in the last day, one of them said, "Oh my God, America is just a wee New Zealand." In other words, everything that's in America is a facet of it in New Zealand. Yeah.
Well, my feelings about that is I don't think New Zealand is unique to the world. I don't think there's any place like New Zealand, especially from
That's what Peter Jackson thought. That's why he did Middle Earth there.
yeah. So that goes without saying. Yeah, there's no comparison to New Zealand. It is totally unique. And what's amazing is you got Australia that's, especially the eastern portion of Australia, which is totally, different than anything in New Zealand. And then you have Tasmania, another wild environment, a very unique environment. Now, the down under to me is totally, totally fascinating. And this, as you said, Rad, this planet is amazing. Let me ask you, Vern, did you get a chance to listen to anything we were talking about, or you just come on?
No, I've just got out of bed.
Okay. We were talking about, Kathy's form, iRise, and the uniqueness of it, her, because she does all the work over there. But we were also talking about, utilizing it as a sister, if not a companion, to the One Truth forum as another platform for those who would like to go over there and not only post but basically read, because Kathy keeps things very tidy and very accessible, and she reviews everything, and she has, I don't know if you know Kathy's history on PA. She was under K-Light, and she K-Light, yeah,
KT Light.
Katie Light, that's it. I'm sorry. And she was a wonderful, what do you say, contributor on a daily basis for years of just keeping everyone informed of what the heck was going on so many levels. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's joined.
Yeah, there's Target. Yeah, there he is. Sweet. So we get the whole gang here, but she was doing that, Vern, and I she never got a lot of credit for it. I remember, at least from my posting habits, I knew when she was going to be on by her time, because I knew she had to go to work. So I knew that whatever she posted before she went to work, I had the whole day after that. So I could, move right in and just fill whatever void. But if I saw something that she had posted earlier before me, because of time differences, because she's in Britain and in the London area, and I knew that she was going to always be ahead of me. So I knew I had the whole day until she came home from work, until I could get what I needed to be posted. I was one of the few people I've ever been envious of posting, you know what I mean? And also, it wasn't a competitiveness, at least from my point, and I don't think it was from hers. It was just to inform the community. And it went really a lot, for most of the part, from many of us have contributed that way on forums, and you're a contributor on a forum, this, and so is Target. A lot of times you don't get the thanks for it, but it becomes a love of wanting to share and everything. But let me is Target there yet? What's he doing?
Maybe
he must be getting prepped ready. But I'm so glad you guys have joined. I know Rad put an invite out to you guys, but there's obviously, this is Sunday. You there? Target? But we're thinking about, and what we've been discussing is also her forum as a platform for those, because she was speaking of the fact that since there's not too many members there, and that's nothing bad, but there's a lot of visitors. There's just as many visitors there as there are on where we contribute. So that tells you something of our content. But she is offering up, for those who really want to get involved there, accessibility to even moderate their own threads after they, show some signs of maturity, if not, ability to moderate themselves, so to speak. And I think most of us here have that anyway, anyone on TOT for the most part, because I've never seen anyone except myself moderated. And that's because when I first got there, I was so rattled. But I know for a fact that on TOT, you can't quit. I mean, they won't let you leave. So it's almost impossible to get banned, at least nowadays, unless you're really being rude and mean.
Yeah.
So I feel that most of us that have moved on to another level of expression on the internet can do our own moderation, pretty much can respect each other, and the idea of having another platform that coexist with us, because pretty much we all are on different forums every day. There's those that visit PA, Todd, and of course I'm visiting your iRise forum as well as another one. So we do that anyway, and have another place where I can present stuff maybe in the future. But I'm more inclined to encourage other people that want to start expressing themselves, especially people like Target, as a ways and means of controlling his own video thread, so to speak. That's what we're talking about. Target is Kathy's forum. You might want. What do you think of these ideas?
No, I agree, and it's unfortunate. It's so many times it ends up being that it seems like there's a dominant personality in these forums, or not even a personality per se, but a dominant theme, like a mythos, like a PA is very victim oriented in my mind. It just is. You can't say shit. You can't be open. You have to couch everything. You have to be very soft. You have to be very sensitive, and that's admirable in a way. But realistic, it is not. So that's a failing for that one in particular forum. Now, the One Truth, I'm a newer member on that one, but I've already noticed there's a little bit of stirrings there. There's some things going on. Nothing major, nothing impressive. It's a small group, so it can't be.
That's good. Yeah.
The problem is once you get to the size of PA, what do you do in mass? You have to start almost being draconian if you are going to implement something that is shaping your own vision. And a lot of people see that negatively, but look, you're going into Bill's playground, expect it to be very Billish, and if you don't like that, fuck it, go away. Yeah. And I agree. And that's why I'm participating in other forums, because I don't like a lot of what's going on there. I feel it's very one-sided and it's very heavy-handedly controlled. And, but how do we stop that? I think that's the main question. How do we stop the personalities from setting the tone of the environment for these different areas where we're trying to open up free communication, but invariably we fall back on restrictiveness just by the personalities that are involved? It's inherent.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're talking about here today does that in a way, in a nice, friendly way. Now, maybe it's, maybe not what others would like, but I see the whole thing is because you're a member at Avalon, you're a member at Todd, and I imagine in the future you'll probably maybe even come over to iRise and utilize that. And you're probably already utilizing it anyway, at least looking at stuff. But I see this all as a level that we all can interact on freely back and forth. Yeah. And especially those of you on Avalon that want to express themselves in other ways without worrying about moderation or being part of a clique or whatever, because it is a private forum. And
that's the funny part. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people think it's a public place where they can go and talk. No, it's not. You're in Bill's living room, and everybody. It needs to be up front in your mind, because if you say things wrong, there will be consequences.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to tell where you're stepping, where the bounds are. There's no list. It's more like go with the majority of the forum or you're going to get kind of frowned on. I don't get a lot of thanks over there because I'm very adversarial to a lot of things. And I've been banned several times from there. They called it a sabbatical, but I never said I wanted a sabbatical, so they pretty much banned me.
I can
Sabbatical is a very appropriate term in ways because it comes from Saturn, and Saturn is all about rules and restrictions and things like that.
and
that's
also,
and Taoist wise, I think that's where PA fails, because they're less way and they're more rules. They're more forcing things to conform and less letting them be. And then you can rebuke as you want when things are as they are, but you don't have to force it into a mold. And that's a very human failing. So
Yeah.
To me, to rebuke each other if we have to is how those are human ways. Those aren't rules. Those are natural.
Exactly.
And to self-moderate means when one of our own gets a little out of whack, we do our best to let them know first, and then encourage through love encourage them. And if they're
Yeah.
demon possessed, I guess we'll have to light a fire, shake some rattles, and chase the
Right.
demons out.
Well,
Yeah.
look at our interaction earlier today, Rad. Right? I had worded things poorly, but it was a very critical statement, and it was against somebody else. But you had taken it on to you that I was placing that criticism on you, and so you contacted me immediately to say, "Well, hey, what's going on? I want to know more about this. Why do you feel this way?" And it turned out it was a miscommunication. But
Yeah.
there's a very, very vast difference in responding with criticism to, "Oh, you have an opinion on how I can do different thing and better. Well, let me try to assimilate that and see how it works."
Well, that's exactly why I even told him that. I said, what it is I wasn't sure if there was a critique, and if there was, I wanted to know it because it might help me. I didn't see it as an attack. I saw it as my brother having something that I thought he was saying to me, and I want him to, so this way here, instead of the confusion of text, tell me, is there something here I should look at, because I am interested, because your eyes are not my eyes, and I value your eyes. And if we all saw critique that way, and also it's, when we critique, we should make sure it's not about our own vanity and our own shit. That we're actually looking out for a brother or a sister, and we see something that we think maybe you might want to know this. I'm not saying you have to do it, but I'd like you to hear it, and then you make your own decision about what the information that I've just shared with you.
That's it.
Right, but the point is letting the information come in, and we're so bad at that.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it used to be like, as Rad's explaining it, and as you're saying, there was more self-moderation. Usually, friends would even in a conversation on a thread, would come in and try to calm down the situation, or PM someone. And even though a lot of times it still would linger on for a while, there was no reason for a moderator or administrator to come in. Because we were taking care of it ourselves. And usually from that, there was no residue, meaning hard feelings, because we did it. And that has gradually eroded over the years at PA because of this, this need to reinforce this area between Bill and his members of his private community. I noticed also today that there was a new moderator appointed again. So I mean, it keeps going and going, and there's
I think I need to channel cosmic awareness.
Yes, exactly. I mean, hint, hint. But what you're speaking of is very true, and it's been ongoing. And that's why what we're speaking of here today, I know it doesn't answer, what the frustration you're going through as a member right now. And a lot of us have obviously moved on through our own traumas, some together and some, separately. And that's why the idea of doing this multi-platform thing is the best way I see. But not only that, you being an innovator of doing videos now, is tales that you have already evolved to that point, you and Rad and others, of making expressing yourself visually as well as artistically through your videos. So I think that's the most important thing we need to talk about here today, is furthering that aim.
He expresses himself artistically. I express myself autistically, but that's they're pretty close.
Well, that's why I edit and you don't. No, that's a very good example. That's very true.
Oh, good. He's got.
I would like to say I have a new spelling for autism. It's AWE as in awe,
Yes.
hyphen tism, autism.
Okay.
And we were talking earlier about the word heretic too. I mean, so these words, these wonderful words that we have, that have been mangled through the ages, of what is a heretic,
And
I guess
and even we're working with New Age and about coming of age.
yes, excellent, yes. So, and this is wonderful that we can express ourselves this way, vocally, and showing our faces and whatever is going on in between, because you can't do that on forums and threads, no matter how.
But here's again, we have a weakness here, right? 3 of us has been talking since I've joined. So obviously there's still a little bit of a weakness in verbal communications, because certain personalities overpower other ones. I mean, I know that I've recognized that myself recently, that I'm a very strong, forceful personality. I can take over a conversation easily. And I haven't heard a single thing from 2 of our other participants that are definitely here.
That's because you got here late.
I did try.
On that point,
No, I saw you, and that was my trying to give you the opportunity, ma'am. I saw you. I saw the like, I want to jump in, but it didn't work. Yeah, it's hard sometimes.
And what I wanted to say was Bill Ryan cannot take criticism, and that's his failing. One of his failings.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree, and that's unfortunate because it's so limiting. Because the worst part about it is the ego views criticism as an attack, and all it is a helping hand. It's somebody like, here's how here's how I think you could do better.
Yeah.
And just absorbing that, take it or leave it. Just absorbing that is so helpful. Just recognizing that there are other personalities out there and other perspectives, and I think that's so helpful.
I think what's interesting about that, whether he takes it or not, is his lack of response is the problem. Even if
that's speculated, that's on purpose.
Well,
I've noticed that over.
Yeah, obviously,
it's atrocious.
Because if he told you to fuck off, so to speak, at least he's saying something.
Yeah.
And for that matter, it's a reaction.
No, but he understands if he told you to fuck off, then he exposes a weakness, and then you have ammunition.
Obviously.
So he takes a more obfuscated road by doing what I've noticed this. For me and Bill have never gotten along. He's only got to ban me twice, and it really took him a lot to get there. But because I very purposely skirt that, because I know that his and I personalities aren't, mutually compatible.
Well, I don't want to see you get banned, and I'll tell you why. It's a little personal and selfish in my part, because I think voices like yours are much needed there. And I know it's frustrating. I know what you're going through. I mean, we even went through some of this amongst ourselves. But at this point, I want to see people stay at Avalon that feel the need to, that want to stay there. I'm not trying to suck anybody out of there. And I know this has nothing to do with what we're speaking of now with you and me, but I want to encourage people to stay where they feel comfortable and be plugged in, but also feel that there's other avenues of expression that they can relieve some of the pressure of the nonsense we have to put up with.
Kathy.
Kathy's form, yeah.
No, Kathy, I think, wants to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm fine. I'm listening.
Okay, well, I think what's interesting, again, with a certain criticism, sometimes to people, if you don't like it here, either go somewhere else or start your own forum. And Kathy started her own forum.
There you go. And she's still a member of Avalon. So, I mean, low-keyed, obviously, like a lot of people. But
again, no. I backed right out again. Had enough.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
I commend you, Target, for some of the stances you've taken, and you've taken some hits, obviously. And it's not hits in a verbal way necessarily. It's energy. It's energy directed towards you. And after a while of getting that energy, it hurts. I mean, it tore me up for a while. It hurt my health. So I can relate.
But you're Italian.
Yeah, I'm a Viking. I don't think I react the same. It's water off a duck's back. For me, it's a challenge. I see them as a constant stream of challenges, and I'm not really. No, I do hedge a lot of my actions because I understand the personalities involved and how tenuous a ride I have there. But aside from that, I'm going to push it as far as I can. I love being the devil's advocate. I hate seeing a one-sided argument. That's the worst thing that could happen ever. People agreeing with themselves and patting themselves on the back, that's where we fall to shit. That's where the Inquisition came from. That's where like terrible things come out of that.
Yeah.
And I will fight against that as much as I can forever, because I think that's bullshit, and it's self-deluding, it's self-manipulating. I hate manipulation, but self-manipulation is the worst. And it's unfortunately very prevalent, these days. We love to fool ourselves.
But we also seem to like dogma, because all the when you accept a dogma, there's you're kind of, you know what to expect, you know what's verboten. There's not.
But more than that, you have an out, right? You have a responsibility out, because you're a follower now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The responsibility doesn't fall on you, and that's, I think, a huge part of the failing of our society today is a lack of personal responsibility.
That's right. Can't grow.
You never will, unless you accept how important you are to everything that happens around you, and how a lot of it is not your fault, but it has to do with you.
Yeah.
Right? Fault or blame, let's leave that blame shit aside. But your actions matter. And I think it's a very empowering thing when you own that. Because you're like, holy shit, I fucking matter. If I do things, it matters. And that's what's been robbed of us lately. We let cops protect us. We let everything that we used to do inherently, everything that was us as a hunter-gatherer tribe, we've farmed it out now. Everybody else does it for us. And now we're lost and wandering around, and all we do is we entertain ourselves and we eat food, and what the fuck do we do anymore? Our society is so unbalanced at this point. And I think it's a big part of the mind parasites and, and how we've been taken advantage of.
Another thing is this gratitude, this ever-ending gratitude we feel we need to give to others that apparently have, got us to where we're at right now, or at least contributed. I've always had been grateful to individuals that introduced me to some of these things, even though a lot of it we're finding out was, not necessarily true, or at least credible, but it did bring us together. But there comes a point when this wanting to be respectful of someone's supposed living room gets to the point of, I'm tired of coming over every Saturday night and watching wrestling with you and rooting for your wrestler. So
Especially
while we pay your rent.
Now, okay, that's a very important point that I really wanted to spend time on this. That the contributors are the form. The contributors are the form. What does Bill do? What does he offer? Right? What do even the mods offer? There's not very many forms or threads originated by the staff there.
It never has.
The entirety of the forum is the contributors. It's me, it's you, it's everybody who posts there and comments or likes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the participants. And the fact that we're getting screwed over and there's no recognition for that, I think even if you don't, like, at a cognitive level understand that, you know what's going on. You feel the use. It's a slight form of abuse, really. It's we're being taken advantage of, and it's unfortunate because the contributors are the form.
That's right.
Kind of like paying taxes and then have somebody else make your rules for you.
Exactly. There will come a time when shit goes down. It's always happened.
And in many ways, what has happened recently, at in the community with Bill and the Wilcox drama has kind of revitalized something that was dying. Has been slowly dying, and maybe at this point he and his staff feel that they've kind of reinvented themselves, or at least given them a shot of adrenaline for a while. But something, this is gonna wear out a lot sooner than not, because we've gone through these cycles with these wars and these arguments. And you can only carry it so far unless you want to bring it to the next level.
Battle of the Zombies.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think that analogy is awesome, especially the way you explained it.
Yeah, that was a wonderful video, and we're going to.
It really was.
We're going to put that in the notes again too, so those that have missed it, because we mentioned it earlier in the this show that in reference. So we're going to put that in the show notes again. but yeah, these, I find it interesting today. Obviously, when you came on, you were stirred up, and I've been that way myself, and I kind of missed some of this stuff going on, but I do appreciate your energy. I do, because I'm glad somebody else can handle it, because I just can't,
So Vern, talk about energy. How about you have anything to say? Because your energy is quite different than what's we're going on here, and I think it's always welcome. Do you have? Are you woken up enough yet?
Yeah, I do have a question for Kathy before I talk about energy. Kathy, I think from memory I tried to join your forum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I did not know the name of your cat. Is that your forum where you've got to know the name of the cat? Or am I on the wrong one?
Wrong one, I think.
Oh, right. No, I went to join a forum.
What
they
forum
said,
is that? I did too.
Know the name of the cat, and I was like, how am I meant to know that?
That's empath, because I tried to do the same thing. I couldn't. I didn't know the name of the damn cat, so I just said to hell with it after trying for about 10, 15 minutes. That's empath. Yeah.
Sorry, Kathy.
So there's.
It's been a question that's been burning with me quite a long time. So
actually, there was some trauma from what I know of, at least because I'm an Earth Empath member. One of the things that recently happened was some locals brutally murdered that cat.
Oh,
that's a bit rough.
Well, I didn't.
Is this a theoretical cat or an actual cat?
An actual cat that I know of. I mean, it was something, because when I had contacted her, that was like something that she was going through, and it was, it wasn't just that the cat died. Having your cat die is all, your pet dying is always traumatic. I mean, I cried like a stream for my cat, but my cat wasn't brutally murdered. Like, in other words, the reason my cat died was natural. It wasn't, viciousness.
Yeah, no, that's way different. You're absolutely well, because the intent and the. Yeah, you're right. That's far different, and that's unfortunate. That's creepy.
Anyway, if Christine's out there, you need to change that, because I don't know, maybe I'd like to join. I know Vern obviously was interested. Maybe change that approach, maybe. But as far as joining the IC, I had no problems at all. I mean, it's very easy. Would you want to know my birth date? And that was it. Now, I don't know if that's applicable to everyone. I mean, I'm sure that you've had your share of individuals join that might have been a problem or something, or whatever. But the interesting thing about the forum, my comment is that there's not a lot of conversation going on here. It's just a wonderful place to go that's quiet. To be on an entire forum that seems almost like going into a library. You know what I mean? So I feel like I should be quiet. I've only posted one thing there, and that was only to get a response out of a couple members, because I wanted to hear what they had to say. But when I go there, it's sort of like in an absorb mood, and I look at the columns and see what she's posted, and see if it's. And so that's the way I approach. But I'd like to see it expand, as I've been saying through this whole video. So we'll see what happens. Target's giving us a view of what's going on out there. The horses look lovely today. Great.
They're pretty awesome. That's outside my. Well, yeah, I'm sitting right outside my bedroom right now.
wow.
At one point, they looked like. Yeah. At one point, it looked like one of them.
Lyric, come on, Lyric. Yeah, she's one of our shy ones.
Isn't this great? We're in New Zealand, we're in the Virgin Islands, we're in England, and both coasts of the U.S. This is great. I mean, this is the way it should be.
Well, that's our one strength, is this freedom of communication without. It costs us almost nothing to do what we're doing right now. Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
something we already pay for. And that's the one thing that we've had recently as far as average humans that we've never had really in the past. We've never had this breadth and width of communication. Like you said, we're all over the world right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, when is this ever even conceivable in previous times, especially for just random fucking people to be like, hey, let's strike up a conversation, right? Yeah, that's maybe
Just-
diplomats or something
That's
like
why
that.
we
But
don't
yeah,
need
this
governments anymore, really.
exactly. We're moving beyond the bounds of that government, and it's starting to feel chafing, and I think it's a good thing.
I like
Yeah.
to
Needs to
call
be
it
uncomfortable.
I like to call them gooberments because it's run
Gooberments,
by
yeah.
goobers.
I like archons because, yeah, well, where I live, the archons are not the archons. I'm sorry, the one from Hitchhiker from the Galaxy, the bureaucrats. I can't remember the Vogons. The Vogons. Yes,
Okay.
I live with the Vogons. It's insane. They want the bureaucratic rules followed for no reason but to follow the rules. It's
I guess
it blows your mind sometimes.
Bogon's maybe a play on bogus.
Well, I think it was with a V, but maybe. It's British
I remember.
humor, so I assume that half the jokes I'm missing just off the go. You know.
Can I get onto something that happened recently? We had President Trump do a stuff up tweet, and I don't believe anything is a coincidence. And that stuff up tweet, my first impression was I kept it to myself because I wanted to see if it was in the noosphere and was going to come out in any way, and it hasn't yet. And for me, I got Cov and Fefe. So Fefe is short for Fiona. And I automatically, automatically felt that it was the goddess Fiona. So the goddess Fiona is the goddess of flowers, or the going into that season in a way. And the Cov is the covenant. So the covenant of Fiona. So that's what I got when I was sort of sitting there waiting to see if on the net if I seen it come out that way. But it might help that I've got two friends called Fifi that their names are actually Fiona. Yeah, so I seen that as spirit putting a message through. And however you look at Trump, he's a messenger. So if you're gonna have a bit of play around and be a messenger yourself, as in spirit, I felt that was quite a nice little message. The covenant of Fiona, the new energy coming out, or the new energy being realised, the changes that are happening, and the gathering. So that covenant.
So interesting because this all happened right before the weekend, and he was doing this late in the middle of the night. And some people have speculated that he meant the word to mean not conference, but what's the other word? It had to do in reference to what he was speaking of, and they said he was nodding off, and he just
Coverage.
Coverage. That was it.
But
yes.
in Arabic or Aramaic, it means I will stand up.
Yeah. So and then he let it stand, and even made a joke about it. And that you say this now, Vern. Really, I've been thinking about that for the last couple of days myself. And of course, as the mainstream media has speculated about it, was it a code? I mean, there's some aspects about Trump, that I believe is operating on a level that is sometimes unbeknownst to him, even.
Correct.
That we're being. Because obviously we're all politically different. I know, coming from different countries and all these other things, but we're all sensing and silently, in some ways, rooting on Trump for some of the things he's doing, even though everyone doesn't agree with everything. And obviously, the way he presents himself sometimes is convoluting. But I think there's something deep down inside of us, especially in this community, that is hoping that whatever is happening out there is not horseshit. And I'm looking at this too.
I think Vern has brought us a pearl.
Yeah.
Because I get it at a deep level, and in many ways, people don't understand the real science of what this planet is like, And so for me, withdrawing from the Paris Peace Accords with all of this bullshit about carbon dioxide, which plants need for this earth to be greener, especially while we're cutting down rainforests, and to help things grow back quicker. I mean, if we doubled our carbon, we'd get 30% growth. Faster and more. And so in many ways, I feel like especially with the Paris Peace Accords, there is a real attachment to what the Earth, what Fiona needs.
Well, and finally calling bullshit to that bullshit that's been. I mean,
horseshit.
It's so.
Since the horse is, basically giving us the flag there.
It's horseshit. It's total horseshit. Absolutely. Plants need CO2 and they make oxygen for us. Why are we fighting this fucking system? Why are we even thinking this is wrong? And how is it ever bad to be warmer? Like, when have things been bad when it's warmer?
Putin said
People
that.
freeze to death all the time.
Putin said it either yesterday or something. He goes, right now, here we are almost summer, and we've had like almost snow falling here. We could use a little more warmth.
Yeah. No, we're definitely in a crazy period right now. And the conclusions that are drawn in the short time span that we have, I think, are hilarious. We're so fucking arrogant. We think we're so influential. I've run the math before that we couldn't even raise the oceans 0.0 and then put 8 zeros and a 1 degree. If we put every bit of energy we make annually into the oceans, we are not influential on this planet. We definitely are a part of it and we're integrated in the system. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be careful, but we shouldn't be the arrogant asshole who thinks we're affecting every change that's happening. Maybe we should just open our eyes and be like, oh, this is a larger pattern, and maybe we're in something that we need to look deeper into.
Exactly. It's circular.
The one true impact that we have had anthropogenically is poisoning our water.
Yes.
Making water that was drinkable on any running stream and turning it into sewage. That is anthropogenic, and I don't hear that being
only
addressed.
If you're downstream from a city, though. Because I think cities are what was poisoned with humanity.
They're tumors.
Because humanity was never. They're tumors on the land. If I've said this before, you look at a city from the air and it looks like cancer. It looks terrible. It doesn't match with with nature. It just looks wrong.
I posted a picture of there's a river running through Spokane River, and we have a wonderful waterfall. And one thing nice about out here is that the people in this region are in tune to that. And even Spokane has got a lawsuit against Monsanto upstream for polluting. They take it very seriously at putting anything into our rivers. And I have to admit, if you go to one end of the river, meaning the north to the south, I mean, it's pretty pristine. And I'm not saying it's like that everywhere. I mean, obviously, there's communities that pollute and there's problems. But I think in America, we're starting to realize this. We got to stop polluting our water. And I'm very proud of the people. But the water is very, very pristine. I'm not saying there's not, bad stuff in it, but it is. The shorelines are clean and everything. So, but you're right about cities, though. They are. That was a wonderful, or at least an excellent descriptive of them. They're cancerous. They're tumors, almost like
Well, the thing about so what you just said is, you said at least we're looking into it, right? At least we're doing something about it. Who else is? Right?
Well, all I know is regionally what's happening here. I don't know what's happening in other communities, and I'm not trying to pass the buck. But I think
no. I would say that all of the U.S. is a hard charger on this stuff. We recycle like maniacs. We do. I mean, we're overboard. This is the meme has took hold. It's definitely a big part of our society here.
Yeah, I see.
That's the U.S. Who else is doing that? Europe a little bit. What about us? Or what about New Zealand? I'm sorry,
New Zealand. New Zealand takes their rivers very seriously too, don't they? Vern?
Okay.
Yeah.
We could do a lot. We could do a lot better. But there seems to be a innate conscience within most Kiwis to pick up litter, to be aware of contaminating streams. But we've got a big industry on the dairy side of it, and the sheep dairy side of it.
Yes.
and they've put things in place for the waterways.
Well, so isn't that interesting how you can leverage industry to help exactly what you want, and it's not always a demon, as long as it's under leash.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because my friend who lives next to a river is a big dairy farmer down there. And this has been a dicey situation and conversation in the past about this. But it's not so much her farm, because it's an organic farm and they have different ways and means of doing things. It's the corporate farms in the dairy industry that have been the culprits. And also the power industry down there, if I'm not mistaken, right, Vern?
Yeah, well, we've got nothing nuclear here, which is helpful. That was one prime minister or president many years ago that made sure that never happened.
Yeah.
And the powers that be at the time, they wanted it. So we were very lucky. We're a wee bit noospherically, we're not as swayed by other countries as you've always got your big brothers, and our big brother is Australia, so we're not as swayed by our Aussie brothers and sisters as like Europe or Canada, Mexico, and America. We're not as swayed by those countries around us. We are three islands, big islands in the middle of nowhere. So we are very lucky in that respect, and we have our children getting pretty well brought up with being green.
Well, I'd like to say something about nuclear energy, and that's because
you cut me off, but go ahead.
Okay, well, that's because of Rosneft, which is the Russian nuclear company. They, about a half a year ago, they brought on their first kind of thorium breeder reactor. And
no, it's not a breeder. That's very important. Not a breeder.
Okay, is it a thorium reactor?
It's a thorium reactor. Yeah, it's a completely different. But yeah, go ahead. I'll explain later.
If I recall, what we can do with these reactors is we can burn all of this nuclear waste that is poisoning places in storage. In other words, anybody who owns one of these reactors can now be a net importer of nuclear waste and use it for consumption. And again, this is clean energy.
Yucca Mountain, as it sits right now, if you have a thorium reactor, you have about 10 million years of energy in Yucca Mountain.
For free.
But now you said breeder reactor, and a lot of people don't understand this. The breeder reactor it has one purpose, and it's in the name. It's refining plutonium. That's the only purpose of a breeder reactor. There's no reason to create a nuclear reaction in a breeder reactor fashion unless you want yellow cake, unless you want refined uranium. The thorium fashion is far more efficient, but it's way harder to create refined plutonium. So, being the military industrial complex that we are, in the 40s we had this lifter, the liquid fluoride thorium reactor, running for 10 years. And it's the only reactor invented that has a built-in safety mechanism. It's literally can't melt down. So it's the safest thing we know of, and it creates the same power that a breeder reactor does, but it doesn't create yellow cake. And yellow cake is a man-made isotope. It's got a short lifespan, but it's extremely, extremely powerful. It's what we make our biggest bombs out of, and that's the only reason any country has a breeder reactor. Actually, every single nuclear facility is a breeder reactor. They're not there to make power. They're there to make yellow cake, and it's a lie that's been told to every bit of population all over the world, and it's unfortunate.
That's important. That's what I actually heard, is the main reason we have so many nuclear reactors is for plutonium for our nuclear weapons.
That's the only reason. Because it does make power, but the power is literally ancillary. It's a side benefit. That's not what a breeder reactor is all about refining plutonium. That's the only thing it does. And it's the only ones there are.
And from what I know of, now, if people are going to work with Rosneft, they're going to be getting these new thorium reactors, which then allows these poor countries. I mean, imagine a really poor African country that can turn into a net importer and actually charge people for processing their nuclear waste.
Well, and that's the cool thing about a thorium reactor. You have the option, right? you can process nuclear waste from breeder reactors, or you can go out anywhere in the world and mine thorium. It's the most prevalent isotope. It's everywhere. It's every fucking where. So they'll just go. They don't even have to import. You have your own resource everywhere in the world. Everywhere you dig, you're going to find thorium. It's not a rare thing. It's before I knew about what I think I understand about low energy nuclear reactions and what can be termed as free energy. This thorium reaction to me was I called it easy energy, not free energy, because it's very, very easy energy. It takes nothing to do. Once you set up the right situations, it's a self-protecting system. It's why aren't we using this? Well, because we all know why.
In certain ways, especially if you're doing nuclear waste, if you're using that, and that's as close to free energy in many ways. Because again, right now it's a storage problem, so it solves a problem. And for people who are going to process it, they can actually charge for it. So for the people who are going to make the energy from it, it becomes actually a way of creating some abundance in their nation.
No, absolutely, yeah. And there's a big market because breeder reactors, they produce a lot of waste. They're very inefficient. It's the worst way to do it, actually. But they're also very safe. And they're also cleaner than anything you can think of except for a good solar farm or a very efficient wind farm. So as far as energy goes, I feel disappointed that whatever has worked so well, that nuclear has been shunned as it has been, because there is a danger there, but we drive with 8 little cans. Well, I do 6 or 4. It depends on the size of your engine, but we drive with explosions in front of us, right? for hours at a time. Multiple explosions are happening like 4,000 times a minute, or depends on your RPM. And then we're like, oh, but nuclear's bad. Don't mind the 4,000 explosions that are happening to me every minute when I drive down the road. We live in an area, we know how to harness things that are dangerous. We just need to give into this. That's our place as humans. That's what we do. We take shit that would hurt anything else, we harness it, we make it work for us, and we have a better life. And nuclear is just the new fire.
So Kathy, Vern is. We would like, we're getting on. We're now at an hour and 40 minutes. We'd like to make it a little bit about you.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Well,
Conversation. I love the energy.
Well, this might seem a little cliquish, and I just want to put it out one more time. Anybody can be here. All you have to do is contact me, Gio, if you want to contact any one of us, and you're invited.
Vern
This is
Target.
not a closed clique.
Okay. I didn't even ask. I just joined.
Yeah.
No, we were always invited. Matter of fact, that was the intent before the show started, that there was invites sent to you guys. But saying that, I just want to add one thing about. I know you know this. 3 Mile Island, it's being shut down. What did you read that, didn't you? Did you see that in the news this week?
No.
They're shutting it down, and I think it's going to be, it's a gradual thing. But I thought you might be interested in knowing that.
I do know it's a really old facility.
Yeah, this is the one that had the brief meltdown back in 1978 in history. For those that don't know, in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. But anyway,
Wasn't the China Syndrome movie based on that?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's what they claim. But I just thought I'd put it out there. I didn't know if anybody had known that.
No, I haven't read. I've been kind of out of touch for less. My wife's been gone for a week, so my whole life's been upside down.
So I've been drunk.
Well, me too, because my wife's been gone.
It really didn't make much headlines. It was a side note story. That's why. But I thought some people might have caught it. But I'm just putting it out there just so it's known.
Well, you can't blame it on Trump, so it's pretty useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's going to report it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's history. I mean, eventually all these places have to be either shut down or redone. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way the process is. But
Well,
but
as much as we like to think as humans that everything we do is permanent, nothing is.
right.
The only constant is change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since you guys joined in, and obviously, I assume Rad's going to extend this to 2 hours because that's the only logical thing to do, and we can put that in the headers later. But I think that's a good idea because that we're all here and talking together. Because I think people like hearing the group better than just necessarily closed conversations. So
Let it roll.
That's it. And watching the horses.
Well, it's getting dark soon, so I don't know if we'll be able to see them much anymore. But I can jump back out here.
That's the beauty of this. I mean, we're now, to me, what we're showing is, okay, 3 of us in our rooms, but two of us are sitting in nature while we make use of technology.
Yeah.
And it's not technology bad. Do we use technology to serve us or to enslave us?
Ooh.
Yeah, I make it my bitch.
Yeah.
But it's our tool. We created it. It shouldn't be a holdback. It so often is. But I think the problem with that is it was created by us, and we know our own weaknesses. We know how Facebook works. Do you know there was a study that just came out about Instagram, which I don't participate in, so I don't really understand it.
Okay.
But I know it's a big thing. People who participate in Instagram are like literally depressed. It fucks you up. It ruins your self-image. It ruins your life goals. What are we doing to ourselves with this stuff? So a lot of people really need to be more cognizant about their use of technology. That's a very important thing, I think.
Yeah.
I used to wonder, with smartphones, I'd see, you go out and about in the city and everyone's on a smartphone. Now, I used to think that they were on the internet, per se. But what I found out is exactly what you're saying, Target. Most people, for the most young, especially those that seem to be plugged in to this thing, were on Instagram or Twitter.
Mhm.
And that's what they're doing. They're reading what other people are posting and whatever is happening in their little worlds, or whoever they're following in the worlds. But I used to think people were on the internet. It's not that at all, because it costs a lot of money to be on the internet and be roaming around the streets. So it's
you know what? I think it has to do a lot more with our reality, and I've especially noticed this to myself because I know that my actual consciousness present, like me being present, is not a super common thing, right? Like maybe 20% of my day, I'm actually, I will agree with every action I took, and I know that I was actually guiding my own actions. And I think a lot of people fall into that, and they let it's easy to coast. It doesn't take any effort to be a background person.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it robs us of a lot of this experience. I think the only reason we're here is for this experience, to enjoy, to fail, to do good, to succeed, to do all of it. Every experience is valid, but if you're just coasting, if you're just following somebody, what are you doing? How are you using your time here?
One of the things I love to do, and I do it when I'm out, is observe people. I mean, I used to remember old men when I was younger, these old retired soldiers sitting on benches and watching people, and I find myself doing it now. But the beauty is that I'm observing all this stuff. I'm not on a phone. I just have a regular cell phone that I only use for communication, and that's it. I don't text very seldomly, but what I do is I watch people, and I'll sit and watch. I'm waiting for buses, or I have to take several buses sometimes to walk up the hills where I live and stuff like that. But I love watching people, and it's just extraordinary. And I think that's what we really, at least from my perspective, we need to do is look at each other, because no one's looking at each other. From my perspective.
No, you're right. We're so distracted now, and we're always looking at a little screen. We don't even realize the humanity that's happening 4 feet away from us.
Now, the thing is, people are observant, especially on city streets. They're observant to some extent of what's around them, and of course, if a noise goes off, now everyone just, goes into that lemon mode. They look around like they're, waiting for the bomb. But for the most part, I think it's an avoidance. It's a great mechanism. These phones. It must be at Vern's house.
I don't think so. That sounds like it's in England.
No. I think it's Vern. Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it sounded like his wife came in the door. But whatever. Anyway, but the phones are great distractions, and they allow us at least to give us an excuse not to interact with each other.
That's it.
But there's people that still do, and they'll communicate, but they're far and in between. But it is sad. It is sad, and like Rad was saying earlier, and he's been having to do this obviously because I think there's some energies, there's some forces out there out to get Rad because of what he's been saying on the internet. That's all I can take from this. So he's had to go outside periodically and just put his nose in the ground. Talk about Anastasia. You know what I mean? He's had to hug a tree a couple times during. He might be out there right now doing it for all I know.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very important
I'm
to be
here.
grounded and touch nature every once in a while. So yeah, he told me he was going outside for 30 minutes today, and I thought that was good for him.
Yeah,
little pale looking.
I do. I do believe that he's being when you say onslaught, he's being hit. Obviously, he doesn't do this. And I think you guys know that. But we had some theories on it. But maybe it's a good thing too, because maybe so many people have resonated with his last few videos, especially. They've been very on point. And Target, I'm looking forward to you making some more. I know your time is limited, especially with your wife not being there. You got all these distractions. You have to take care of a lot of stuff. But
yeah.
But I want you to start making videos again, and especially with some of the stuff you've been observing, because you're really good at it. I wish that you and Rad could do more together in the sense of you doing editing and him doing whatever way you want to mix it up. Look at the Siamese. Okay, there you go.
Well, Rad's connection is kind of limited, so I think we could work it out. I'll talk to him more about it probably next week. I've got a couple ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's we have he has the time that I don't have.
True.
And I have we could work together. You're right. It would work very well together, I think.
But I love his response videos, and things. I mean, to me, it's like music. We're riffing off of each other.
Yeah.
I just, to me, it's really, I just find it a lot of fun.
Well, he has a talent, you have a talent, and I believe you hear things differently because obviously, you're different people. But from that comes, more cohesive, what do you say, message.
Even coherence and cohesiveness?
Yeah, the words again.
That sounds really close to that Corey shit. What was it? Community in the community? No.
Unity in the community.
Unity in the community. God, that's such a cult stain. I can't.
Yeah.
It just sounds like something you say before you drink the Kool-Aid. I don't even know how that passed. Who approved that?
This is Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I got my Kool-Aid.
I decided to call it continuity in the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like unity, but I don't know. That's such a weird situation right there.
Well, I think basically unity is a good word, and what we're seeing right now is the weaponizing of it.
Exactly. The perversion. But like we said, that's how everything goes, right? The brand is built, the awesomeness happens, it's taken over, it's converted to exactly the opposite, and then you have religion. Or
that's what they're doing. They're kind of using this meme that is really positive, and then they're coming in and kind of showing. They're going to tell us what unity looks like.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think they found a star in Jordan Sather. They found a genius, very very smart individual that is his ego has a little bit too much control of him. So he's smart enough to know to balance it. Like I don't. It would be very hard to see him as a shill. But now you look at Divine Cosmos or Frequency, Divine Frequency. I forget her name, whatever it is. The shit she's putting out is just it's obvious. She sucks. She's not at the same level that Jordan is.
Yeah, yeah.
Jordan is so much more subtle, and he does a great job of doing exactly what she's trying to do, but she's ham-handed at it. And her videos are 4 minutes long, and 45 seconds of it are pay me on Patreon or give me money, or it's gimme. The needy, grabby feeling is like.
Ooh.
Yeah, it feels it's gross. It's gross.
Her latest video is over an hour, and it's an interview with Stacey Good.
Well, that's worse.
You're kidding, really?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I saw it. I didn't watch it, but I saw it posted up.
Have ginger
And
tea
it's
or
not even. It doesn't say
Dramamine.
Stacey Good. It says interview with the wife of a Mill Lab survivor or some shit like that. All dramatized.
Now, did she have to travel? I mean, where was this taking place?
No, they're both in California. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where would they? Was this? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I believe it was in her house, Divine Frequency. I don't know her name, but I think they're very, very close, from what I understand.
Interesting. I had no idea, and that's
good to keep your assets close, right?
I think Jordan Sather is being groomed to replace David Wilcock. I have a feeling that the people who work all this stuff are maybe a little tired of Wilcock. I just kind of get that. I watched, I guess, a 20-minute video that was made, like a day in the life of, Corey and David and him in the studio. And he's just really kind of, I think that I get that they might think, you know what, I think we're done with this guy. Or who knows, maybe Jimmy Church moves somewhere and David takes Jimmy's Church's job and Jordan takes David's job.
Let me add an observation here. Number one, David charges a lot of money. And he, of course, he has his own projects, and he also does the Ancient Aliens. And he's probably looking, and I'm not that I know, but I'm just assuming this, that maybe in that sense of what you're saying, after listening to his videos, I could get tired of him pretty quickly too, especially if I'm paying him a lot of money. And he might have served the purposeness of what guy, needed him for. And let's face it, younger people are cheaper to bring in and groom and whatnot. But very good observations.
Well, and let's not beat around the bush here. Aesthetically, quite a difference there.
Yeah, he looks better.
Unfortunately, well, yeah. And look, and I hate to put it in that word frame, but it's if you're reaching for young people, that matters. That's very important.
Yes. David, I was really surprised in that video that we posted the other day, the one with Corey and Wilcox driving down the road, how David appeared, in the car. It was almost like he almost seemed juvenile, and to the point of I wanted to smack him, but I.
What I noticed was I don't know if that's a video. It was like a year or it's at least a couple of months.
It's last fall.
Okay, have you noticed how much weight David has gained recently?
No.
The stress, yeah. That video was disgusting to me. Watching that it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch.
Well, somebody on my comment section, because I had mentioned about him pudging out a little bit, and they said, I know that look, and he mentioned a certain drug. I don't know if it's what kind, psychotropic or whatever, but he says that's what you look like when you take that.
Oh.
And look,
I'm going to find that comment.
I'm gonna throw a rare moment of empathy out, and I don't know what the guy's going through. I can't even imagine. In my mind, he's living the fakest shit you can. I couldn't live with myself being that person, And so, what does that do? Even if you consciously agree with what you're doing, like subconsciously you judge yourself differently. all your bullshit ideas in the conscious world don't matter subconsciously. You can have some crazy guilt trips, even though you completely feel like you're going in the right path. And I don't know. I couldn't be him. So for me, that's hard to
what's
understand.
Interesting about David is, you remember a few years back when threats were made on his life, and they became supposedly real, and they became public. But I think this is back, in 2000?
It was a live thing. I was actually on PA when that happened.
Okay.
I was writing commentary, actually. I was posting live commentary as it was happening.
Okay, and as well, and I think he went on to even do a coast to coast, and he was crying and carrying on, and I didn't take it. I wasn't laughing at him, because I think he took it very seriously, at least the way he was perceiving it or whatever was occurring, and so it wouldn't surprise me that he's on medicine like that, that Target was speaking of. So, and what people do in their own privacy in between these tapings, conferences, and whatnot, he might be a mess. You know what I mean? He might be a big mess. So we put on a face, and obviously he was putting on a face in that car. A different side of himself. Corey, the funny thing was Corey was the funny thing, did the reactions. Like Corey, like I imagine he had one hand on the door because it seemed like he couldn't believe he was there, and they just didn't seem like a match.
Okay, let me read this comment. And yes, it is I mean, again, he just said, David Wilcock's current appearance may be eating well, but I've seen that look in people's face before, and it's not food that does it. It's an antipsychotic drug called olanzapine.
Well, we'll have to take that for what it is. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on medication, just because of his maybe his sensitivity. And also the pressure that he has, even though he makes it look easy, maybe his life is what it is,
Yeah, what's your day-to-day as David Wilcock, right? I can't even imagine. And that's where it's hard to judge people like that, because I live such a different, my perspective is based so differently than his. So it's hard for me to call him out on shit, because who knows, I mean, I know how easy our minds are twisted into weirdness sometimes that we don't even agree with consciously, but it still gets to that point.
Yeah.
And maybe and that's my one. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt as much as I can, but it only goes so far.
But they are human beings, and this is another thing that maybe we need to add to this whole thing that's going on with, these comments back and forth from different groups about these individuals. And even, and this includes everyone. We're all human, and we need to remember that. Just remember that these people are human. They're not going to be perfect. We're looking for all these flaws in their behaviors, as well as what they're doing with their private lives, as well as public. So I always try to, maybe because I'm older now and I have, I understand it, from my own vulnerabilities, but it is that.
There's to me, compassion. We want it at all times, and the real focus isn't so much on the personalities, is the activities that are being built around personalities, and then the ramifications for our kind of alternative community, and what might be going on, and it's not directed by them. I mean, that's pretty darn clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at how hard we've been fighting that battle, right? How we've been trying to shift the conversation to away from the personalities. That's not what humans want. That's not what we want. We want to hear about how somebody did wrong and how they fell from grace and how
that's very true. I mean, anything that I ever see, especially on forums, and PA is a good example of this. If you want to get attention on anything, start a fight. or
Yeah, yeah.
start a criticism, and that's a human thing, isn't it?
Now, I think it comes from the lack of self-validation. And to me, it starts with the mind virus, with a God that many people have accepted, where we're unworthy, we have to earn, to be good. To me, it's part of the mind virus that we don't self-validate. We don't have that basic center that we are an emanation and that we are inherently good. And once the a couple of thousand years ago, this mind virus came in where we weren't inherently good. As a matter of fact, we were inherently flawed. We were inherently sinned. Jesus had to die for our sins. How fucked up is that?
Not only that, but our very basic form of propagation is a sin, right? Unless it's done in a certain way with rules.
Yes.
That blows my mind. That blows my mind. The most natural thing, the drive that we all have, is a guilt trip now. How does that fuck us up our entire lives, right? And I agree that being older helps a lot, because those urges kind of diminish a little bit and you get more clarity. Because you need to break away from the sin feeling, the guilt, that this inherent feeling you've been taught your whole life is guilty. Yeah. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Men are born with the wrong penises, for God's sake.
Yeah.
God's sake.
We can get into the whole men thing, and I've definitely talked about that a lot. It's an uncomfortable topic for people, but you want to talk about the most repressed class in the world? It's men, because we're expendable. We're only valued through our production. We're nothing unless we're productive and we're helping.
Kathy, have you got something to say, Kathy?
Kathy's enjoying.
Go ahead, Kathy. You're right there. Go with it, lady. Just jump in there.
I disagree. I think the most oppressed.
Oh, okay.
Well, no. On a different perspective. Yeah.
Not oppressed.
Yeah.
I agree in that. I agree in that sense. Not oppressed, just valued less. Women and children first.
At the bottom of the tree, we're not even the branch.
Oh, jeez. Well, you're right, but what I think he's coming from with that is men are more messed up. There's no question. We like to say that women are messed up, but no, men are messed up. We are. We're
beginning to be. I think that's the intention.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That especially nowadays, and I can relate to that as being an older male. That they want to push. Thank you, and they want to push us. I'm of no use to this government, to this pretty much society anymore, and I can feel it. But the thing is, I know at least when I'm out and about to put a smile on my face, and people appreciate that. So that validates my whole existence anymore. But yeah.
Doug, I want to ask you a question that's nothing to do with any of this. I just want to ask you, regarding your horses, do they see through your camera lens? I wonder.
Well, it's my phone, so yeah. They find it very interesting. They're like, "What is that? What are you holding?" So that's why they want to come and
Okay.
They're very curious. Yeah, but most animals are. They want to see what's going on. See, look.
Yeah.
This my.
Number one, they want to know if it's food, and number two, can they benefit from it?
Well, it's a very grounding experience living with animals like I do, because you really feel the base motivations of life, and you understand how easy it is to fit in with that. If you just go with the way things are.
Yeah.
Well, they also, like you said something very good, and you and I have had the conversation, Target, about how animals deal with each other. When they're unhappy, they give a quick, like a dog might growl, a cat might hiss, you might see cats do that, but there's no hangover, because nobody's feelings get hurt. You know what I mean? It's like you communicate and then you move on. Like I said, there might be that little bit of readjustment, but everything gets back to normal really quick, because there isn't that psychological component, and especially, like I said, from centuries or if not millennia of not being validated just for being who we are by the whole God concept that we have.
Yeah.
that, that kind of plays into that lack of self-worth. And so if somebody says something that doesn't, pat us on the head, it's like, we're traumatized by it. And animals don't have that. They just communicate, that is not okay, cut it out, and then they move on. And we can be like that, but we
Yeah.
have to grow up.
Yeah.
Animals don't hold grudges.
And the interesting thing is that when we're feeling okay, meaning in a groove and everything, we can do that to each other. I've seen people do that. They'll say, "Hey, get away from me," or whatever. And for the most part, if we're we're in a right place and everything, people don't pay attention to that. Just okay, because we understand it on the same level that the animals do. It's when we start looking at all these reasons, well, he didn't take his meds. He's upset because of this. She didn't do this. And you know what I mean? We start looking for all these deep meanings to everything.
It happened in a past life.
No, I think we have so much baggage and we don't even know how to acknowledge it, and that's the worst part, because we read into actions far more than the action needs to be read into, and that's unfortunate. And it goes back to, you're exactly right. The way animals communicate is a sharp, quick rebuke. They say, "No, don't do this anymore." And there's no more. It's it. It's over. Not a big deal.
And
they move on. They never even remember it again. It's great. It's how it should be.
And this comes around to forum life. I like to make this comparison that we do this to each other all the time on forums because of the way we communicate. And since we can't see each other's faces or see what's going on at that particular moment, maybe I fell out of my chair. Maybe, I spilled coffee on my lap when I said that, who knows? But this is the point of having this other outlet of communication, so that, hey, communicating the way we do in text is okay. It's the way we do it, but it's nice to have this this media where if you want to clear up some stuff with someone, and not necessarily on a cosmic emporium necessarily, but on a back channel chat. Now, I know that forums had chats in the past, chat groups and whatnot. I don't necessarily feel that's the way to go, because that's part of the form. I would be more inclined to what we're doing here with Zoom or even Skype, and each individual has their own. It's not owned by a forum, let's say, whatever's happening there.
Well, I've been in chats and they do things like, sprinkles fairy dust over Geo's head. There's
Are they doing that to me again? It's like, no, you're right. Yeah. It takes on a different whole thing, and everyone's trying to be cute too. I found the chats to be, everyone's trying to perform the same way that they are with their posting.
Well, I think a chat, it's live, so there's an urgentness to it, right? You feel like you have to be there right then, right there. And that's why I like forums better, because you get more of a communicated response out of it. You get more of a thoughtful, I can edit my response. I can tell you exactly what I want as best as I can through text, which is limiting. But I agree that's why my phone is on silent. I don't, like, people call me, I miss calls all the time. I don't allow that to be, I don't like that. I think it's rude. And it's my own thing. But, I feel like we should be able to communicate when we want to, and not when we have to. And then when we have to, we turn into a groupthink thing, and we start looking for validation, and we compromise ourselves. But when we have the time to express ourselves in a forum and give a full thought out, I think it's a much different thing than, we have time to prepare and make and craft our words the way we want them to be, not where.
Yeah. And I want to go against what I've been maybe insinuating, that articulated it very well. There's times when I want to say something where I've worked on it. It takes me a while sometimes, but I know others, you want to craft it, you want to make it right, because it's permanent for the most part. And you want it, it's the thought that you're putting out there, and you want it to have meaning and be rooted in something. So that that's want the whole medium to be connected, so we can go from one to the other.
Yeah.
Especially for those of us that are getting closer, as well as those that want to be part of it. And I want to keep emphasizing that, you know, it's open to anybody who wants to participate, and that before what happens in all these things, there's always pre-show and sometimes after video conversations. But for the most part, there's also conversations that go on a regular basis with groups that is not recorded. And
well, let me expand on that a little bit. Here's a really good example, right? Look at your and my own interactions.
Yeah.
And how it changed when we finally got to talk, right?
I don't think you, I don't think you and I would have ever doubted. I think we knew that in a conscious, a conscious level. It's just that what would bring it about.
No, we bumped heads, you and I.
Well, not only that, but we also got along too. We had things that we resonated with, video making and vlogging and stuff like that. So I mean, we knew that we had ideas and things that we resonated with all along. It's just that,
right. But my point is, I think the clarity came when we had the conversation face to face, where we were like, "Here's how I think. Here's how you think. Here's our voices. We have the inflection. We get to finally understand each other for real, and not with the projective text." And I think that's that's a huge difference in conversation, is when we can actually do what we're doing right now and be more authentic with each other, because it's so hard through text. I'll write something and your mood depends on how you read it. And it might have nothing to do with what I wrote, but your mood is very influential into how you read what I wrote. And that's a difficult thing to fight through with text. And every form has this. Yeah, this is a failing.
What you
I
just
think
said
video needs to be much more influence. Yeah, it should be much more involved.
What you just said with those two sentences should go at the head of every form. What I said is not. Say it again, because that is the whole key.
Yeah, no, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You know what
it's how do you convey that to people? Right? How do you do that? It's a weird thing.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason for this evolvement of what we're doing. So and that so many different voices could do this, come together and believe this. I think that tells that it's worthy of it. So. What do you think? And I find this, and maybe I shouldn't say this. It's really up to 2 hours. Maybe we should leave it up to another time to expand on this. Rad, what do you think? 2 hours?
Oh yeah, we have 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Oh wow. Well, maybe we ought to end it and save it for another time.
Yeah, I think this was excellent, actually, and I don't think it's too long as it is, because I mean, if we went longer, but I'm even having encoding issues. Like my software is telling me, you got to change the settings or do something. We were getting some interference, so it feels like to me I'm almost getting signals like let's call this a job well done.
Yeah. Now, we need to let obviously the viewers to know that this is an extended show, especially since Vern and Target joined late. Now I don't know, Vern, he's probably left us again. I think he had family things to do Monday morning or so. But I love this, and thank you, Kathy and Target and Rad. Again, this has been a good conversation as always.
Yeah. So can I just ask you if you agree? Right, chat rooms would be a good medium or a good tool to use to clear, those matters up that one has with text, and which are resolved through conversation, that you can hear.
So there's different levels of communicating, right? There's different levels of involvement, and I think a chat room is good, but it's also text, and you're missing inflection, and the speed of like I can type 120 words a minute, right? I can out type most people I know. So I can become a very, very dominant voice in a chat room, which is unfortunate for somebody who can't keep up. It can be very frustrating. In fact, that's how I learned to type, was because I got very frustrated in those types of situations. So I that to me, in my own personal experience, I know is very limiting and very, very frustrating. So that, like I said, different levels of communications and the ability there that it's not commonly shared can be very frustrating. So it's hard. So I don't know. I think chat is useful, but is it more useful than video? No, no. Video is the penult. This is where we should be. What we're doing right now is where we should be.
My Zoom
Because
room can
I know
hold.
you. I can see your expression. I can tell you want to talk right now. I'm sorry. But like I couldn't tell that if you were typing. I'd be typing over you the whole time. I would never even know that you wanted to interject. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I understood that. I'd forgotten, see, the only time I went on the chat room on PA, the whole thing was pornographic.
Oh, geez. Well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't intentional, and that was probably some shit that happened. But yeah, you're right. I don't know.
I'd forgotten.
I think what we're doing right now is where we should be, and we have the technology now. We have the ability. I'm sitting here on my phone in my backyard.
Yeah.
You're in your house. This is so easy, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
Because we can tell just through our tone and our pacing and our conversation, our word choices. It's so much better.
Yeah.
You can't touch what we're doing right now. And the worst part about it is so many people are afraid to express themselves and throw themselves on camera. And I think the biggest part of that is we've been desensitized from TV. Everybody thinks they're supposed to be a pretty person or a talking head or somebody who has a $9,000 outfit and a perfect backdrop and all that bullshit. And we feel so intimidated to be ourselves that we don't even want to. And we cut ourselves out of it because, somebody will judge me or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
It's ridiculous. We should just be ourselves. And it's sad.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to say was, I have a Zoom room, and we can thank Global Mission to Peace because this is part of how I do it. So Global Mission to Peace, is actually facilitating the fact that I have a Zoom room that can hold now up to 200 people. Now, that would be a little bit of an unmanageable possible clusterfuck. But let's say, there was some bad blood amongst people. We could say, hey, look, why don't you all join us, and we're going to have like a little bit of a group therapy session. No, we're not recording it. We're just doing it. And allow, I think that that's an outreach that I could offer. If we let's say we're just seeing some people go, butting heads or something, and go, would you like to join us in a face-to-face thing where we can kind of find out, and mend things, and it's not recorded, it's just live, real, and probably very healing.
Mm.
That's amazing. I had no idea you could do that many. I was figuring 50 would be, amazing, but 200. You could put a whole form on there, but that would be a mind fuck. Like
I've managed up to 80 people.
80 people. Well, there you go. It's out there, man. This.
Yeah.
Well, the beautiful thing about Zoom is it has a group mute function, which when I first got together the group, and before they got to know me and my boundaries, sometimes I would just mute everybody, and I'd be the only one, and I'd kind of, let everybody know how we got to do this. And that's the beauty, because you could have a bunch of people go, and suddenly it's silence, and only one person has the floor, and that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I'm glad you said that so people understand. And also, the people don't have to be on camera; they can just be audio. Is another point to make.
Yeah.
That some people have wonderful voices to listen to, and if they feel they don't want to show their face, so be it. I've heard some elegant voices recently.
Bring your favorite avatar. If you want to be Space Ghost, be Space Ghost.
Yeah.
Well, all I see is this lovely picture of Modwiz from many years ago. But I agree.
That's from a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the point is the inflection and the verbal communication, and it's so much easier to tell what people actually mean when they're actually talking to you instead of.
Yeah. It's very important because, I mean, I think we all can leave this conversation feeling quite pleased, if not happy about it, with the energy exchange. Whereas in a text conversation, there's always a wondering, did I, have I, could I,
Yeah.
those type of things, did I do, we could feel totally good about something that we might have texted, but it might have hit somebody wrong.
Yeah.
Chances are it did. Chances are it did. But okay, Rad, let's do it, and let's look forward to the next ones you guys got coming up.
Well, what I like, I mean, like when I was kind of stepping on Target, and he said, "I'm not done yet," so.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You want to?
No, I was talking about like a moment ago when
was
Target
earlier.
was speaking, and he
Oh.
just let me know I'm not done yet. And of course, if he's, I got to let him speak because he's right. I did step on him, and so I backed off.
And see, I missed it, and this is the way threads are too. People miss stuff, and
Yeah.
then they interject like I just did, making a boober and looking stupid. So okay.
Not even that. This is a while ago. It's just
No, I
what
know,
he's saying
I know.
is we have a great opportunity here to where we can actually finish an idea instead of
Oh yeah.
and express it in the way that we feel. It's very authentic in this sense.
Yeah.
Especially, I love a 2-hour or a 3-hour format. That's my bread and butter. That's why I like Joe Rogan, because you know how hard it is to fake for 3 hours. You're going to be real.
Well, when you
in
have
that
as many,
period.
when you have as many people as we're, and you have at least, a dialogue conversation. I mean, today has been wonderful having. Now, of course, Vern is usually very quiet anyway, but unless he's speaking on a specific topic of interest. But saying that, between the three of us,
Did anybody notice his son?
yeah, that's. Did you see that? Okay. Okay, he has a little boy. Yeah, he has a what's he got? Rad, an older, a teenage son or a young man?
I think I really don't know. I know he has a young one at home right now, and that's who
Yeah.
we saw.
Yeah, Vern's a good dad. You can tell that.
Yeah.
And I imagine Target's pretty good himself.
Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of which, I've got to go. I've got to take my kids to the movies. So
You do.
the sun
Oh,
is down.
sweet.
Yeah, the time is getting
Okay.
short. Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's been excellent to talk to you all. Thank you for letting me join late and interject whatever I have, and I appreciate it again. It's been great. It's been great to meet all of you again. I love doing this. I think this is very useful.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. That was
Thank
the
you,
whole reason
Target.
of giving you the code.
Thank you, Target. You have a good evening. Okay.
Everybody, have a good night. Thank you all.
Bye.
Good night.
So here we are. Good night, Target. And so we're back down to the 3 we started with. It's almost like
Okay.
perfect. You know what I mean? We started with 3, we got to 5, we're back down to 3, and we're saying good.
Yeah.
We're saying toodles for now.
Yeah. Good night.
Yep. It's been
Okay.
wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, Kathy. And we will put Rad will put, obviously the link to the form as well as the link to his new video, which
Yeah.
he did. I think other people need to see that.
Okay.
And, we'll hopefully he'll put the appropriate thumbnail up there with title, and people will enjoy this. And hopefully we'll have another one soon. Okay.
That'd be nice.
And thank you all for joining us for Cosmic Emporium, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
With much
Bye-bye.
love from all of us. Until next time.
Yeah.